The federal government has unveiled a $189 billion rescue package to support Australians through the coronavirus crisis.
For more, we are joined by finance expert Mark Bouris. Good morning. Australians are laid off as a result of the coronavirus outbreak. They will be allowed to pull money out of their superannuation. How does this work?
Well, you make an application. Generally speaking, with regards to superannuation, if you are suffering from severe hardship, you can make an application to access your super before you retire. And generally speaking, what happens when you get access to that superannuation as a result of your hardship, you have to pay tax on it, around about 22% or some number around that way. What the government have done, they said, you can access $10,000 per annum for the next 2 years from your superannuation that has been accumulated without hardship, like the normal hardship principles. You can actually make the application and get that money into your hands over the next 2 years, $10,000 a year for the next 2 years. Plus, the $10,000 you get will attract no income tax. So it's quite a good little package. So you can take $10,000 out tax-free.
There is a bit of a pushback on this, though, Mark. You know, the opposition saying that this is not what Australians should be doing, is drawing down on what super they have to try and get themselves through this crisis, because that leaves them vulnerable later down the track when they need it. What do you think about that? Should Australians be doing this mainly if they've got a bigger super? Maybe if you don't have enough, don't draw down? What do you think?
You're 100% right, David. There is a bit of a pushback from the Labor Party, the opposition, which makes sense. The bottom line is the government's not saying you have to go and access this money. They're just saying if you want to, you can access this money. This is just one of the ways you can access money. These packages are all about how can I get some funding into my business? How can I get some funding into my family coffers at home because something has changed in relation to this virus effect? So you are not obliged to access your superannuation. If you want to access your superannuation, the government is saying, here's a way you can do it, here's a way you can do it efficiently, but you don't have to do it.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, the lockdown, it has begun, and from midday today we'll see many closures enforced. So small businesses, they'll be closing. What is your advice for them?
Well, the lockdown, let's not call it lockdown. This is a shutdown in relation to some industries. So it's pubs, clubs, cafes, restaurants. And we haven't gone into the period where they're saying only essential services are open like they have in the US and other places around the world. So right now, if you're in business and for example, there's a coffee shop that I go to sometimes up in Darlinghurst and I have my breakfast there, not sometimes, I go every single day. As of 12 o'clock today, he said to me, he texted me, he said, and he texted all his customers, I assume he's texted everybody, because I said to him last week, you should have an email list or a text list. Tell everybody that they can come and get their coffee, they can get their breakfast if they want, but you've got to line up out the front, you're going to be 2 metres apart from each other, and they're going to serve you through a window, and you've got to take it away. So they're the sorts of initiatives. We're all going to start to show initiatives. The government's got to show initiatives in how to rescue this country and how to make us feel safe. All of us equally, we've all got to show our own initiatives, especially if you're running a small business. We must be start to intellectualise how we can survive all this process, because governments cannot prescribe things for every single industry. It's not going to be possible.
Okay, the government will double the Jobseeker allowance. Do you think this is going to be enough for some people out there?
It won't be enough for some people out there. But again, I'm not here to defend the government's position, but there is limited amount of money. I mean, the government doesn't have unlimited amount of money, particularly given that they're going to be collecting a lot less tax over the next 12 months to 18 months to 2 years probably. So they can only hand out what they've got, and if they want to hand out more than they've got to go and borrow it. So the government has announced that they're going to increase the amount of money that they can borrow for another $250 billion. So they may be saying to us we might have to let out another $250 billion. Some of that may go to job seekers as well down the track. What we are doing, this is a day-to-day process. We're only looking at this day-to-day. Right now, the extension for job seekers is probably is enough. Given the circumstances of it, it may well need to be increased. I agree with you 100%. It may not be enough down the track.
Mark, that being said and done, the Prime Minister was dodging questions on whether this would trigger the recession, or are we already in a recession? What does that mean? We're going through this incredible moment in our history, which we've never seen before. Maybe it's getting up there equaling to the Depression. What is going on if we have a recession on top of all this? What does that do to this country?
It's an interesting question, David. We get hung up, and I think at the commentary level, we get hung up on this word called recession. A recession basically means we have 2 quarters of growth in the country, which are negative. Got to be 2 quarters in a row. Probably we're already at a current run rate. We probably already are in a recession. the bottom. I don't want to concentrate on the word recession. I'm not trying to dodge it. I mean, the Prime Minister maybe is, maybe is not. But I don't think the word recession is relevant. Really, what it means is what is the effect on your particular business? What is your effect on your particular job? And what are you going to do about it? Or what can we do about it? And what can the government open up? For example, the government has done something quite intelligent. The government has said, we will give the banks $100 billion to lend to small businesses at a very low interest rate, 0.25%. So they're saying to the banks, here's some money, $100 billion, we're going to charge you 0.25%. It's not even 1%. But you're going to lend that to small businesses. And then what they're saying to small business owners is, listen, if you're really short of money at the moment, you can go and borrow up to $250,000 from the banks. Just go to the bank, unsecured, borrow up to $250,000. The banks aren't going to assess you on your current income. They've got to assess you on your past income. And we, the government, will guarantee half that loan. Plus, you don't have to make any interest or principal repayments for the next 6 months. Now, that's a pretty good deal in terms of funding. I mean, you wish you had been able to get that a year ago.
Sure.
But today, $250,000, what the government's trying to do here is help them out at the revenue line or at the funding line. That's really important. Where we are as business people, what we've got to do is look at what we can do at the expense line. So really what the government's saying to us here, look, we don't want you to sack everyone. Please don't fire everyone. What we'll do is we'll put in the tax that you pay for all your wages. So like, let's say I'm paying you $1,000 to work for me, David, and every month I take out $250 a month for your $1,000 wage, and that's your tax. The government's saying, look, Mark, if you keep David employed, you only have to pay him $750 a month instead of $1,000, because we will give you back the $250 that you withhold from his wages.
Right.
So I guess what we're doing here, we're seeing these things develop as they go along. The government showed a propensity to make changes very quickly, and we have to go with it. And I don't think we're going to have a perfect situation currently on any one day when we talk about it.
All right, Mark Bouris, great to have you on. Mr. Bouris, sorry, great to have you on again. We'll stay in contact with you, mate, because there's some good advice there. We want to, as you say, this is an ever-changing situation. Yeah. We might get you back on as the government speaks again about the economy and what the next stimulus package is.
Yeah, some great.
Thanks, Mr. Bouris.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks so much. See you guys.